Good morning, YouTube. Today I want to talk about whether or not we have seen the peak of Ferrari.
So are you recording all of the nefarious activities?
If you're new to the channel, my name is Dan and this is my garage. And this channel is all about the supercar ownership experience. And one of the things that I've been thinking about is the Ferrari marketplace has been changing, and it's maybe good, maybe bad. I don't know. People seem to have strong opinions about this. I obviously have my own. So I'm going to discuss my opinions, but more importantly, I would love to see your opinions in the comments below. So let's get a cool conversation started, and feel free to add your opinions below. But before we do that, real quick, please support the channel by liking, sharing, subscribing, and visit normalguysupercar.com. That does help us keep this channel going, so you can use the code NGS10. It'll take off 10% almost everything we have in the store. So we do appreciate that tremendously. Thank you very much for doing that. So I've seen some comments lately about how Ferrari's got some electric stuff coming and everything is turbocharged now. And I actually saw a Facebook discussion that basically was like, have we hit the best that Ferrari's gonna make? Is arguably this car, the 458, potentially peak Ferrari? Is that the best that Ferrari's ever gonna make? So I think I wanna kind of break it down into a few different categories because, well, you know, they're almost different beasts. So you've got the V8 cars, you've got the V12 cars, and then I'm going to say you have the beauty classification. So obviously there is something to be said about Ferrari's design styling, and people have favorite Ferraris based on the looks, and then they have favorite Ferraris based on performance. So the first thing we'll go into is the beauty component. I'm going to argue that I don't think that we've seen the most beautiful Ferrari that we're going to ever see, because that's one of those things that's kind of subjective and it changes. So yes, it's going to be very difficult for Ferrari to ever produce something as beautiful as the cars they did in the 60s. You know, in particular, like the 250 GTO is regarded by many to be one of the most beautiful cars ever made. Even the Dino 246 is just absolutely gorgeous. Some people really love the Daytona. There's a lot to be said about even in the more modern Ferraris. I'm going to say once we got to at least the 308, so like 308 forward, I would argue that potentially the F430 might be the most beautiful car Ferrari's made. I actually in some ways think it's more beautiful than this. And I'm going to say it with an asterisk of beautiful. Like, I think this looks better, but I think the 430 is more beautiful. So it's a very flowing, like gorgeous lines. The fenders have nice arches, things like that. This is, you know, more angular and aggressive. It is cool looking, and I think it looks good. It looks better, like I said, but I don't think it's necessarily as beautiful. So it'll be interesting to see what Ferrari can do in the future. I actually think the F8 looks tremendous. It's absolutely gorgeous. But will they produce something that's better looking in the future? Who knows? So again, if you have opinions on this, feel free to put them in the comments below and we'll discuss it. So the second thing we're gonna talk about is the V12 Ferraris. Okay, in the V12 Ferrari world, well, have we hit peak Ferrari? Now, the question would be, what would be the peak V12 Ferrari? And I'm gonna go straight to the 812 Superfast. In my opinion, is probably the best V12 Ferrari that's ever been made. Its performance is outstanding. It's got high quality, it looks great. I mean, it is just an amazing, amazing car. It's gonna be hard to beat that, because now it's kind of pretty much guaranteed that they're gonna either be turbocharged V12s or hybrids or something like that. So that's the last naturally aspirated V12 that we're ever gonna see. Now, the question to you would be, if they go turbocharged or if they do hybrids in the future for the V12s, does that necessarily disqualify them for being peak or being the best that Ferrari can do? I don't know. I think there's something to be said about the merits of how much power you get out of turbocharging, and there's also something that's amazing about having the hybrid systems, because you get that instantaneous torque. I think you could say it's peak driver's car, because then once you get to that point, you're not doing as much of the driving, the computers are doing so much of the work for you. But if you're gonna argue that, then I'm gonna say that maybe you have to go back to when it was a manual, because obviously when you have the dual clutch, you're not doing the shifting, it's just kind of managing a lot of that for you. Is the 812 potentially peak Ferrari in the V12 world? Maybe it is. If not, if you have to say, excluding any sort of potential for a hybrid or turbocharged engine, probably wanting something in the manual gearboxes, I mean, I don't know that I would say the 599s or 550s are quite at the scale of amazing, you know, cars that they made back in like the 60s and 70s. So This one's going to be a little bit more challenging to kind of put your finger on. But again, put in the comments below what you think. What is the peak or the best V12 Ferrari that they've ever made? Okay, and so finally we've got the V8 mid-engine cars. So what is peak V8 Ferrari? Well, I am still going to say this, and I am strong in my opinion on this. I think the 458 is the best Ferrari that's ever going to be made. I think potentially ever. Like, I think it's just got everything that you absolutely would want in a Ferrari. It's fast, it's fun, it's low maintenance, it's got perfect balance, just enough power, great responsive, naturally aspirated engine, amazing sound, and reasonably priced for a Ferrari. I know that's like a huge, like, okay, yeah, for a Ferrari. Or at least they were reasonably priced, but right now they've all gone up, so now they're getting priced out of contention maybe for that. But here's the thing, after this, obviously we went to turbocharged engines with the 488 and the F8. I personally don't like those as much. Does that mean that I dislike them? No, absolutely not. They are incredible, amazing, super fast cars, and I really enjoy driving one of those. I still want to own one at some point and would love to have one. Prior to this, I think the single clutch gearboxes just don't cut it. It's just not as good of a driving experience. It's clunky, it's herky-jerky. It's raw, but all things being equal, if I could choose a single clutch or a manual, I'd rather have the manual. So you could say maybe the 430 in a manual might be up there in contention, but I think based purely on how many things go wrong with that car, it's going to be disqualified because it does take a lot of maintenance. It does have a lot of issues in comparison to the 458. You're just spending a lot of time having to worry about things that are breaking. Now, that doesn't mean it's bad or it's unreliable. It is very reliable for a Ferrari. It just still needs a lot of work. And then anything prior to that, a lot more work, a lot more maintenance. You had timing belt services, a lot of engine outs, things like that that just start to get really complex. There's something to be said about the 355. It's up there in like outrageousness for Ferrari. I mean, how often do you have a car that's, you know, used to be able to buy them for 50 grand and needs 20 grand in service every few years, or at least 10 grand in service every few years? So I don't know, that's pretty amazing that that car is still loved as much as it is. I still love it, and it probably is the best sounding Ferrari ever made. So again, please put in the comments below what you think. What is the best Ferrari that ever was made as far as looks, for V12 cars and for V8 cars? Do you think that Ferrari going to hybrids and turbocharging is going to ruin the cars? Is it not going to be the same? All of the modern supercars are going to head that way eventually. They're all going to either need to be by law or just to compete, frankly, to stay as fast as the other cars, they're going to have to. So obviously McLaren's fully embraced turbo. Lamborghini's kind of holding out. Good for them. I'm glad they are, you know, stick it to it. We're getting to the end of naturally aspirated, high revving, beautiful sounding engines. And so in my opinion, that's kind of what I grew up with. That's why I like, and that's why I prefer this. So again, put in the comments below, what are your thoughts and opinions? We'd love to hear it. Please like, share, and subscribe. We do appreciate that. And also visit normalguysupercar.com. Help us out by supporting us and buying some parts and services through our channel, and use the code NGS10. Save yourself 10%. We do appreciate when you guys do that very much. It is our job to do this, and hey, we wouldn't be doing this if you guys didn't support us, so thank you so much. We're going to be doing a lot more car stuff, so you're going to want to stay tuned.
It's going to be sweet.
Is Adam here?